Welcome to 101. I'm Greg Bassett, your host from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. It's a big day here at PAC 14. We have our local delegate in the house, Carl Anderton. Welcome, sir.
How you doing, brother?
Now, you're late because we usually have you in right after the General Assembly session in April.
Sure.
But you've been like a busy guy. You've got lots going on,
We've been
man.
having some fun. Yeah, it's good times. I mean, mostly. But, so we've been running around back and forth up to Annapolis. Being on the Appropriations Committee is it's a whole different world now.
Yeah, you've got people lined up to ask you for money all the time.
Yeah, so we asked the same question, how does this benefit us on the lower shore?
Right.
And you always find, different organizations will come up with different ways. They're like, well, we have a sister organization on the lower shore, or something, and so it's we used to help on the shore, or we have a cousin who has an organization who helps on the shore. So,
right.
It's fun watching these places that probably never really give us much thought. Now all of a sudden, try to find that connection, to us, so that way, as one of the members on the committee, we'll either speak up for or against.
Right. In theory, your hand's on the pocketbook, but it's not in the pocketbooks. You can't reach in and take the money out. You have to use your skills to negotiate with others to get them to take the money out.
Right. So to speak.
Yeah.
So to speak. The budget's set by the governor. So I mean, the legislature cannot add money to the budget. All they can do is just move money around inside.
Right.
And so that's, we kind of do that. But mainly I'm just kind of holding on to what we've got. But if something passes by that I can reach out and grab, we do that, like we did for downtown and different things like that. We've got some exciting projects we're looking at down the road between Warwick and SU and even UMES. And so we'll be, as things run by us in committee, we'll be grabbing what we can for that. So
yeah, I want to talk about those things, but I want to
Sure.
tell a story that I heard.
Yeah.
I always wonder what I'm always asking as a reporter guy, what's Carl's role up there, and what do people think of Carl? Mm-hmm. And there was a situation recently where someone asked Doug Brinkley, is he the finance director?
Oh, David Brinkley.
David Brinkley,
Uh-huh.
Yeah, who was a former state senator. He's now
he's the budget secretary.
He's the budget secretary for Governor Hogan.
Yep.
They asked him about some money for down here, and David Brinkley said, "Oh, I got to run that by Carl." And they were like, "What? You got to ask Carl first?" Yeah, I need to talk to Carl first.
Well,
And I was like, wow, like this, because this guy is kind of an authoritarian kind of guy. He's not used to having to ask anybody for anything, but he needed to ask you first.
Well, it's all about relationships, and I don't think it was an ask, but just a conversation about.
Right.
But budget secretary is great. All the secretaries the governor has, and of course, the governor's my guy.
Right.
So we've just positioned ourselves naturally to be in a spot where, no matter where we need to pivot, we have a landing spot. The new Speaker of the House, Miss Adrian was my subcommittee chair. As a matter of fact, when we were working on the money for Salisbury University, she said, "Whatever you want, cornbread." So,
yeah.
Now,
for the record, I've never called you cornbread.
That's okay.
I would never do that.
Yeah, I don't know if you're cool enough, but
Carl was nice enough to invite me to spend some time with him. Yes.
Yeah, right on. Absolutely.
Yeah. Actually, it was the Cleveland game that you and I.
That's right, the Cleveland game. Yeah, you came to the Cleveland game.
For the playoff game, I was completely serious. I wasn't going to have any alcohol.
You didn't want to goof off with us or anything
I was
like
completely focused in playoff mode.
Well, we don't have alcohol at our tailgate anyway. So.
No, not at all.
It's next door to us.
It was next door.
Yeah,
and you could have wandered over there and participated, but
probably.
Yeah.
But furthermore, moreover.
But I was at the Cleveland game because my daughter's dormitory, she goes to Towson University. They have a tailgate the last Ravens game.
That's right.
Of
they
the
were there
season
too. That's
every
right.
year.
Yeah.
So there's like 100 of these college kids over like a block away, and I dropped her, then had time to kill before I went to the stadium. So I met up with you. And it was wonderful. And I could see his impact there because everybody knew Carl, even in Baltimore. They all knew him, and I didn't hear anyone call him cornbread.
So
it was all Delegate Anderton.
No, it was none of that. Nobody calls me that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
And then I thought, well, this guy, it's really gone to his head. He's Mr. Big Shot now. But then you sent photos from the game, and your seats are like right up there around the blimp. I mean, you do not have the best seats.
No, I like sitting in the upper deck of the end zone.
Yeah, but you're not in the skybox by any means.
Oh, no. No.
Which, if I was a delegate, I'd be sitting there next to the governor, I think.
I mean, I go to some games with him, but I like sitting in the end zone because you can watch the plays unfold. Right. As a former player, you like
can
watching,
see it all happening.
Right,
That's
absolutely.
True.
And so I like that. I take my sons up there with me, and of course, Cousin Jimmy's wherever Carl is, Cousin Jimmy's sure to follow.
Right.
Or the other way around.
Right.
But so it's we have a good spread at the games and everything. But yeah,
Carl's kind of a fixture there at the Ravens, and they like Carl, and he's a fan, and that's cool.
Yeah, sure.
I saw Governor Hogan and Yumi in Ocean City at 75th Street at a restaurant.
Mm-hmm. When the governor's just like anybody else, when you're trying to relax, when I'm with him, when he's just relaxed, we talk about non-political stuff.
Yeah.
We talk about dumb stuff, if you want to call it that.
Kind of like what we're doing now.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, just regular stuff, because, nobody wants to be, especially by another legislator. You don't want to be constantly hammered when you're trying to relax. Now, if you're at an event,
right,
on the clock, if you will,
right,
yeah, that's when that's fine, or call them up and meet with them off to the side, but
it would be a drag always being the governor and having to act like the governor all the time.
Yeah, I guess it would, but we've been known to have some times where we can kind of, it's just just us, but the governor's same no matter what. I'll be honest with you. What you see on the podium, he's that way when it's just us hanging out.
What's next for him? What are his? Not to make you speak for the governor, but you certainly support him, and he's a Republican who's in this role, just been reelected. Mm-hmm. He's got 3 years to go. Lame duck, sort of. Democrats beating on him all the time. What do you see happening for him?
Well, I think it depends on what happens next year, but I got a feeling that in 2024, Bunky and myself and a couple of other people could be in Iowa at the state fairs, and, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the governor he's kind of done. Well, he's doing what when I was the mayor of Delmar and I realized I didn't have the connection I needed in Annapolis, I went and did that for Salisbury, Delmar, Fruitland, Pittsville, Willards. So I think with the governor being governor, he's seeing things in D.C. that aren't the way that he expected them to be. So he's probably thinking, well, I'll just go fix that.
Right.
Now it's a big difference between what I did and what he's thinking about doing. But, I mean, he started a new organization to kind of bring some civility and
he's a moderate guy.
Right, yeah. I mean, there's no reason why the letter next to your name should automatically include or preclude you from something.
Right. Everything's not divide and conquer.
Right. It's not supposed to be that way. It's all about what's in here, and especially what's in here, not what's beside your name. I'm glad that I was raised not to look at that first,
Well, we saw that in your first race, where there were opportunities for you to really kind of Republican up yourself and be very conservative, and you didn't do that.
Yeah, it wasn't about being smart or dumb. It was just the right thing.
Right, what felt right.
Right, and I still feel that everybody was really robbed of an awesome opening speech at that forum because I took the time instead to apologize to my opponent for something.
This is a forum that I actually emceed, I guess.
Right,
yes,
yeah.
and we did not know each other.
No,
and
you wouldn't even look at me. You were like, "Who is this fool?"
Well, yeah, there's that. Well, you were
right. No, it was spur of the moment. I was sitting there honestly, and as we're sitting on stage, as people are doing their speeches and it's coming around, I'm like, it's like I could hear my grandmother in my head saying, "Okay, boys, it's your opportunity to get out from under this mess that somebody else put you in.
Yeah.
Do it or not.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?" And so, I mean, I just got up and just turned my back to the audience and apologized for something that people 2 hours away did that we knew nothing about.
Right. But the cynical newspaper guy, I was like, he's going to say, well, Norm, you are a burglar and you did steal money from, I was expecting that.
Right.
And I was just like, wow.
Well, because it's the right thing to do, you
Right.
know. It's like we're working with State Highway Association, the administration, and the Tri-County Council, actually Bunky did the majority of that work.
Right. This is Bunky Luffman, who's your buddy who works for the governor now.
Yep.
He helped you a lot in Del Mar.
Right. To have the piece of the bypass dedicated,
to Norm.
To Norm, yeah. Right after the election, that we thought of that. We said that's what we should do because we knew that he was a part of that happening.
Yeah.
And so right now we're looking at having discussions with 113 when the last phase is done for former Senator Mathias to do the same thing for him.
Wow.
Yeah.
That would be excellent.
He had something to do with it. So
he fought that fight for a long time.
Absolutely. It's more than deserved.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong doing the right thing.
I just saw you on TV the other night. You were being interviewed about Meals on Wheels in the Mac Center.
Sure.
And there's a lot of disinformation out there about that. So I kind of want to maybe clear some of that
Sure,
up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not disinformation on your part, but you're trying to solve
on
a problem
part.
that's based on disinformation.
Yeah. So this whole thing started about 4 years ago when they readjusted the formula based on a per person kind of funding, and the counties that have a higher population that meet the criteria, get more funding than the counties that have get less. So there's been an adjustment period.
It's a formula.
Right, but because some counties have lost money.
Right.
Some counties have gained money.
And their demographics have changed.
Right. And so for the ones that have lost money, especially for us down here, we have received some supplemental funding to help with the adjustment.
As a bridge.
And I guess we didn't adjust. So
we forgot to make that adjustment,
so
knowing
here
that there's
we
going to
are.
be a problem 5 years from now.
Right. And so here we are. Hello. And so what we've done is, we've met with the county executive and some members of the county council, and we met with the director over at MAC, who's really awesome. And we are getting numbers back from them to kind of...
And MAC is the senior center, and they
yes,
run
Meals on Wheels
the
is
local
operated through
Meals on Wheels program. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so we're getting numbers from them so we can formulate a plan if needed to maybe look at some geographical disparity where we have to travel so much further to deliver these meals than other jurisdictions, and
right.
maybe there's an opportunity for some increased funding to cover transportation costs. Now, it's not going to put them at the levels they've been at for 4 years, so they're going to have to do what all of us do at home. When your income is adjusted, then you have to adjust accordingly, and so we're hoping that will happen because we want to make sure the end result is that people continue to get fed.
Right.
And
and it's more than just meals. There's the human interaction thing that goes on.
I had the opportunity. I volunteered a couple times. One story in particular with Jack Heath. This has probably been 3 years ago when I was with him the first time doing this, and the interaction with people.
Right.
When you walk in, and you sit, and of course Jack said that I take forever,
right?
Because he's got this list he's got to deliver. But me, I'm gonna talk to everybody as long as they want,
right?
It's just like the grocery store,
right?
So it was just neat seeing the impact of something that small on somebody's life that you just wouldn't put together,
right? So
I see the importance of it, and we're going to do everything we can to ensure that continues the way it has been. And the county has stepped up and offered to help supplement as well,
right? If
the state is unable to. So we have about this is June. We're still in June.
We are in June.
So July we have till 5 months, probably February, I guess, before it becomes a real issue.
Right.
With we call it the burn rate as they burn through their budget. So we're gonna keep working on this until we find some type of resolution or compromise, or the MAC Center has done what we had asked them to do, and that's adjust their budget so they can thrive on their own.
Right.
But I think that there is a need for some increased funds based on transportation. So they're gonna
have to raise some money from the public to sort of help out.
The way it's always been.
Right.
Right. The way it's always been, and maybe some of the lesser things in their budget that have been kind of a plus.
Right.
It's like me. When I took over this job. I cut HBO because I couldn't afford it anymore.
Right.
You know, so you know, maybe they have to do some of that themselves. You know, but
there ended up being a little politicization thing, an element where Mr. Culver was out there. They're like, "Hey, we need money." He's like, "Council just cut my budget. You can have that money, as far as I'm concerned."
Right.
Because it went into like a holding fund.
Right.
So they called the county council. Can we have that money? Well, no.
Right.
For a couple of reasons. One is there's 4 counties.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
right.
So they've got to put up some money.
Right.
But we're happy to write a letter to the governor and ask him to change the formula. So it looked like the county council didn't care.
No, but
and that wasn't it at all.
No, they're being responsive to the county taxpayers, saying we don't need to pay for Dorchester.
Exactly.
You know, Dorchester pays for Dorchester. I mean, you know, if you pay taxes in Wycomico, you kind of want your money spent in Wycomico, you know.
But so it ends up being not a bigger deal than it is, but ends up being
it's just
more
the way it kind
complicated
of
than
spun
it should
off
be.
as like it was an immediate thing. Now they're going to have to stop serving meals tomorrow.
Right.
You know, and I'm like, well, actually, the budget doesn't even start till July, and then by then you go through your burn rate, which will put you in February. So once we were able to decipher all that, then everybody kind of got on the same page. Now we're all moving together.
Right.
And
then of course Mac, when they announced the situation, you know, the dumb guy who runs the newspaper writes this big story like, Mac money's been cut, what are we going to do? You know, that kind of thing, without really asking all the right questions.
Yeah, I saw the article and I said,
oh, no.
This guy really doesn't like me. So I was just thinking,
no, we never thought about you.
Really doesn't like me.
No, but then people turn into a cut. Like, why would the governor? He seems like such a nice man. Why would he cut Meals on Wheels?
Right.
That's not what happened.
Right. It was just a formula change.
And it's my job to explain that.
Right.
You know,
that's okay.
Through this and through the newspaper.
I got you, Snappy. Don't you worry.
But you look forward to a resolution on this. And
absolutely. We're not going to stop until we were ensured that everybody will continue to be fed and treated the way they've always been.
Right.
So, if not better.
Another issue I have to ask you about in your backyard.
Sure.
Foskey Lane and Route 13. Yeah. Someone gets killed there a lot.
Yeah.
And it's not like 60-foot road on Route 50, but. And what I see happening there is rather than turn and use the old Bi-State Boulevard or whatever, is it Bi-State? What's the
down there by the Exxon?
The old Route 13.
Yeah.
At the Exxon.
Right. They want to come up
the truck
and
store.
Yep.
Rather than turn there, they'll see there's traffic there, so they go to the next intersection.
Right.
Turn left in front of traffic, and there's a fatality.
Right.
Is there any resolution for that?
Well, I mean, we've been pushing to have that a lighted intersection. We found out that they said that the last stoplight that is projected to be on Route 13 between Del Mar and Pocomoke City is that intersection. But the problem is the crossover traffic on Foskey going east to west, actually will be west to east, doesn't warrant it.
No people are really coming out of there.
Not enough people coming from west.
I think when school lets
east
out.
To west. I'm sorry.
Del Mar Elementary lets out. You see people going that way.
You see a lot from.
But people will turn left and go through town instead if they're going up into Sussex.
Right. So, and the state will not put a light without it being warranted, because if there is an accident after there is a stoplight, then they can sue the state.
Right.
So it's a sticky situation. So we're looking at maybe no crossovers. But the problem is there's only 3 crossovers in Del Mar. There's Foskey Lane, State Street, and then Conley Mill.
Right.
To cross over, because the town is split now by 13 because there's so much growth on the other side.
Right.
So then aside from that intersection, there's the intersection with Bi-State and Conley Mill where the gas station and the truck store is, looking to do what they did in Fruitland with a traffic circle.
That's a great idea, because that's a merge accident potential nightmare all the time.
So all those things are being discussed. I was actually on the phone with my successor in Del Mar the other day. We talked for about an hour about
the Del Mar mayor.
Yep, with Karen Wells about these 3 different areas, and so we'll see. We'll keep pushing for some type of resolution, because you just want people to make it home safe from work.
Right.
That's all. So that we did get it lighted, not stoplight, but it is illuminated now.
Right.
And that took forever to get that done, but I'm glad that we were able to do that. So now we just need to keep pushing forward. And it's interesting. We're keeping track of situations in Del Mar, and then with Salisbury, with all the work on 13 in Salisbury, and then in Fruitland as well, with the adjustments that seem to have finally been settled with Bennett Middle School and all that on Division Street and everything. But it's just kind of doing what I'm blessed to do. I mean, you have to wear so many different hats.
Right.
So you know.
You get to be a traffic engineer.
But it's awesome in so many ways because those are tangible things that when they're corrected, you can look at it and, instead of a lot of bills that are passed where it's just changing a comma,
right?
Things like that. I mean, it's tangible. You can ride by and say that guardrail, is going to make a difference in somebody's life. It's going to ruin somebody's vehicle, but it's going to save somebody's life. So it's just, those things like that, like the bridges on the bypass that still aren't done, by the way.
Right. A lot of them are done.
A lot of them are done.
I think 10 of the 13
but we
are
still
done.
have all the underneath work that needs to be done.
And they assure me that's just cosmetic.
Well, it needs to be done.
Yeah.
So if they're going to do it in Arundel, we're going to do it in Wycomico. I mean, that's how we got Purdue Stadium.
Right.
When they put $120 million into M&T Bank Stadium, I said, well, we're going to put $5 in Purdue Stadium.
Right.
So, that's kind of how we're watching.
Right.
And I've taken pictures and shared them with, the director of transportation.
Yeah, now I used to know Donnie Drewer,
Yeah.
who did the job for 100 years,
Sure.
and you'd run into him places, and
Right.
you could say, Donnie, I'm really not comfortable when I'm sitting. Actually, with that intersection, I complained to him one time. Mm-hmm. The one we're talking about there at Del Mar, where you turn left onto the old Del Mar Road. If I'm in that right lane, there's just enough curve in Route 13 that cars are coming right at me, and then they have to take that curve. I'm sitting there, and I can feel them coming toward me.
Right.
And they get pretty close there on that right side, especially some of the big trucks. And you're like, there needs to be like a divider or a median, or put those plastic poles up or something to divide that thing. And I mentioned that to Donnie. He's like, yeah, I'm retiring. That'll be someone else's problem. He wasn't going to engage me on that. I don't blame him.
Right.
I mean, because he had other problems with that intersection. I get that.
Oh, yeah. That whole area, I mean, especially as Del Mar grows and North Salisbury continues to expand, it's just going to be more and more of an issue.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it's the same thing. There's issues with intersections in Fruitland too, as Fruitland has now really gotten on track, and Salisbury University is growing, and things are moving to the south.
Yeah.
We've got our eye on issues there as well, especially the turn into the Walmart in Fruitland. That's something that we're looking at, and so we're just we're kind of all over the place with it. But it's an awesome opportunity to sit here and even speak with you.
Right.
But serve my neighbors.
You're one of the rare people who feel honored to speak with me. But
kind of.
most people cross the street rather than have to.
Oh, I would never do that.
Because they don't want to compliment my
I
toupee.
did see you downtown the other day, and you looked at me and kept
walking. Was it you?
Yeah.
Did you yell?
Yeah, I did. Say, hey, brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was you.
Yeah.
So that was a Cadillac limousine. That was you?
No, that was me walking in flip-flops, man.
Oh, I didn't see that. I don't wear my contacts all the time, so I miss a lot of stuff.
Okay, Snappy.
So your role will continue to develop. You're going to continue to be more important, whether you want to or not.
Well, I don't see it that way, but
what's the next session going to be like? Any idea yet? I know it's a long way out.
It's going to be interesting. We got the implementation of the Kerwin Commission, which is adding funding to education, which I think is great. But we're already looking at but we're looking at a deficit spending coming into next year. This is just going to add to it. And so it's going to be interesting seeing if there's any push for revenue enhancements, tax increases,
which is not going to happen.
No bueno. Yeah. I'm not good with that. I think we also should live within our means, just like everybody else at home does.
Right.
And so anything that has a tax increase attached to it, I'm just letting you know ahead of time. I'm voting against it, and I'm voting against it because we don't need to be digging into anybody's pocket any further, despite how good of an idea it is. The whole point is quality of life, and the quality of life you maintain by having the ability to afford it.
Right.
So
devote the energies to finding revenues in another
Exactly.
way. Yeah.
Right. Now, if you want to do some selective taxes, like sports betting or any of those other things, that's cool. But so next session, we've gotten an idea of how breaking down the budget and putting it together works, and so we have some big projects we're looking at. Of course, Beaver Run Elementary, Mardella needs a school in Mardella. We're looking at expansion at SU. We're looking at a building at Warwick. Of course, maintaining progress at UMES. So we have all these different things on the burners, and so it's an exciting time to be on the budget committee. So I'm looking forward to it. We're already having meetings and stuff, and running to Annapolis, meeting with the budget secretary, looking at projections because we want to be ahead of the game. And you know, again, man, like I say, man, I'm just blessed to have this opportunity. I mean, every day I wake up with goosebumps thinking that, you know, I get to help my neighbors.
Right.
So.
Well, the building at Warwick, that's an interesting development too, because 5-6 years ago I saw it in the budget.
Right.
And Dr. Hoy's like, yeah, we're going to need it someday, but we don't really need it yet. And it just sort of sits there. And then all of a sudden there was more talk about it, and I said, I thought you didn't need it. He goes, oh, now we need it. We need it now.
Absolutely.
That's when last time I talked to you about this, you didn't need it. He's like, that was 5 years ago that we didn't need it. You know, but things have changed, you know, certainly with the economy and training and our role in the community. We need it now, you know, so I get that, you know, but it's been there. People have been aware of it for a while.
No, and it's the perfect addition to Warwick. You know, I mean, you know, there are other things on their long-range plans like a gymnasium and all these things, but the applied learning facility is perfect for right now, for today.
Right.
And so I'm excited to be able to have a part in that. You know, the same thing with the medical residency program plan between SU and MES.
Very ambitious.
Yeah, I'm excited to be a part of that too. I mean, it's just really cool to see these things happen and to be able to stand in the gap and connect the dots and then just get out of the way and let it happen naturally. I think it's really awesome. Like I said, man, I'm excited and blessed that I get to do this.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
How can people get a hold of you?
As you know, man, my cell phone number is 443-359-1335. Facebook.
Oh, that's the number I blocked on my phone.
Twitter.
I remember who that is.
That's right.
comes up blocked call.
Blocked call, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, okay. Yeah.
I kept wondering why it kept saying call rejected all the time. I'm like, it must have been interfering with the snaps on the head.
It could be.
But, So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, even Snapchat, it's all Carl Anderton Jr., one word. And so anybody who needs to reach out to me for anything, I got you covered. He's
our delegate, Carl Anderton. He does it a little bit different, and we're thrilled with that, and we're happy that he was here today. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely, brother. Right on.
I'm Greg Bassett from the Salisbury Independent. Another edition of 101 right here on PAC 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and one-on-one. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.